inversion layer that shifted the weather pattern early Monday morning and stopped it from doing so. But the fire burned, as you can imagine, for well over a month. Now the firemen, and God bless them for all of their great work, did an amazing job in holding that line and saving property and lives. But the economy is and will take years to recover. Some businesses have closed because of the loss. And what's offered is these SBA loans that these businesses can't afford to take, even at the low interest rate. And so I appreciate the conversation about somehow trying to make this whole. I've had these conversations with our federal delegation as well, but there isn't anything in the pipeline or any mechanism to make it happen. When we talk about a little over 700 acres of Oregon that burned, you have to understand that a quarter of that is right here. To understand just the enormity of this whole fire. And when we talk about how it's currently affecting the economy as these trails and roads are closed to hunting. I know that even some of the legislative staff have recently been down there to do some hunting, and they weren't able to get to that area. Our fishing salmon season is occurring right now, and they don't have access to river bars up in the Chetco River, which is hurting our guide service and others. But when we talk about the years ahead, you know, we had the Biscuit Fire 15 years ago that was roughly 500,000 acres. The amount of sediment that came out of that is as such that you can walk across the mouth of the Rogue River underneath the Ellensburg Bridge. And it didn't come down the following year after the Biscuit. The main bulge of the aggregate and sediment came down 2 years later. And then roughly 10 years after that, another surge of aggregate came down because the scientists imagine that the trees, again, only 2% of the 500,000 acres was salvaged. As they rotted away, those root systems that held that aggregate together started failing, and that aggregate went into the river system. With the Chetco, we have the Bear report that shows that the likely sediment input into the river is 900 times more than average. And we have the Port of Brookings Harbor at the mouth of the Chetco River that's already struggling financially. And so when we talk about economic recovery, there's some really big issues that we're going to be having, not just on the state level and locally, but also the federal level because of the channel that's going to need to be dredged. And so we're going to not only need help with the local dredge that this body has purchased for our local ports, and I appreciate Representative McEwen's work on that, as well as the Coastal Caucus and Chair Gomberg. But we're going to need our federal delegation to make sure that they are advocating with the Army Corps of Engineers that we have the channel dredged as well. So just a little bit on our structure of our Recovery Council.